Happy Earth Day and welcome to WIN TV. I'm your host, Denise Rollard Barnes, and I tell you, it's a beautiful day outside. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but I'm wearing my Earth Day shirt today because, I'm celebrating the earth, and I hope that you are too. I really hope that you are too. I hope that you're taking some time on this beautiful day to see what makes it so lovely and what we can do within our own communities, within our own homes, within our own neighborhoods to really contribute to saving the earth, to making it sustainable. And as a matter of fact, Chevry, we just happened to have some important people from the city right outside of our office today talking about a new composting plan that the mayor has come up with. And as I said earlier, now I won't feel so guilty when I don't eat all of my food in a restaurant because this program will allow restaurants, I believe, I hope they come in and tell us the details, but will allow restaurants to share or at least store that food, and someone will pick it up and it can be composted, or if it's still some of the food that's been prepared but not served to customers, of course, can be used for other purposes. So I know you all sit in places and think, what happens with all of this food? Well, I think the city and folks who are involved in trying to rid the increased amount of food waste to find ways to really come in and reclaim that food and to use it for sustainable purposes. So that's what we do on Earth Day. And I hope you had a chance to pick up a copy of the Washington Informer this week. You can read the issue online at washingtoninformer.com. That's the digital issue. And I don't have one in front of me today, but that's okay. You see it, the digital issue right there. Okay, Chevy's running over saying here, here, here. But anyway, this is our copy this week, and it's a really nice thick issue this week. I mean, I think for a small newspaper like ours in Washington, D.C., to have an 80-page paper is really saying something about the way that we're trying to communicate and share news with all of our readers and audiences. And so, and one of the things that makes this issue so big is our sustainability issue, or we're celebrating Earth Day. We've done this for probably the last 5 or 6 years, and I really look forward to it. And I think our special issues editor, Dr. Sherman, pulls together some fantastic content. So we're going to talk to her a little bit later about some of the stories and some of the issues that she raises in this issue, and share that with you. If you're watching on Facebook, hey, please go ahead and hit share so your followers can see the broadcast. And if you're watching on Twitter, be sure to follow us and we'll follow you back. And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Washington Informer TV. That's one word, Washington Informer TV. Go to YouTube, and I ask you, subscribe. That really helps us out. So if you subscribe, we appreciate it, and we want to stay in touch with you. So we look forward to having you with us. So we want to mention the fact we have a couple of little news tips. We don't talk about a lot. Normally Curtis does that for us, but he won't be with us this week. But we wanted to help announce that Mayor Bowser said homelessness in the District of Columbia is down 13.7%, according to the result of the 2022 point-in-time count, the annual census of the homeless. And this number shows a decline in the number of homeless by 47% from 2016 to present. I think that's good news. We hope it's good news. I mean, it's never good to know that people are houseless, that they don't have a place to call home. And I know we use a lot of terms. Homelessness has become sort of a controversial term within itself. But I think right now you all know what I'm talking about. And we are really concerned about particularly families with children. That really makes it tough. And so we have so many resources floating through this city and cities across the country that there should be no one without a home. So every effort that our politicians can make, and our nonprofit organizations, the government, even us in our own communities can do to really make a difference to ensure that people have a place to call home is extremely, extremely important. I guess you've heard also that face masks are now optional on most public transportation systems, including Metro, the DC Circulator, and the DC Streetcar. But we all know that the pandemic has not disappeared. So we strongly recommend that you stay safe in whatever way that means to you. I know some of us have taken our masks off. I have to say, I'm one of those who, walks into a door and tries to figure out. I'm equipped. I've got my mask, in my pockets or in my pocketbook. And I have to decide when I walk in that door, is this a place where I really should be putting my mask on? And some people are still asking just for the safety now that we're in public places. Went to a conference yesterday, and most of the folks, the conference organizers, were asking everyone if they would continue to wear their mask because nobody wants to be responsible for anybody getting sick. And thankfully, the death rate as it relates to COVID has declined significantly, but we can't say that people aren't still getting sick, getting very sick. And so we still have a little ways to go. We have with us today our several guests, and I think Chevry is out there right now. We had some special guests, as I said, from DEMPAD, the Department of they're ready to go? Good. Okay. So we're going to have them on and to talk about this program that we just had outside. There you are. Good, good, good. I can't hear you, though. I think they're muted. And this is a first for us. This is one of the first times we've ever really just sort of brought people in and had a quick interview, but we couldn't let this opportunity go by. There you are. There you are. So, hey, how are you all doing?
Hello.
Great. Hello.
Yeah. So introduce yourselves for our audience, if you don't mind. Director.
Well, sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Christy Whitfield. I'm the director of the Department of Small and Local Business Development.
And I am Caroline Howe. I am one of Director Whitfield's staff members at the Department of Small and Local Business Development, and I am the program manager for our Food Waste Innovation Grants.
Well, I'm really, I mean, that's our term now. We're really excited, but I'm really excited because, first of all, we go outside and we see you on our block in front of the Martin Luther King MLK Deli, a famous now restaurant from Ward 8, and announcing a new initiative that you all have come up with. So I tried to give a little, intro about it, but I know I probably messed it all up. So go ahead and tell us what you were here talking about.
Well, today's Earth Day, and so we thought, what better day to announce the Food Waste Innovation Grant. So we have, on behalf of Mayor Bowser, we had $500,000 pool of grant funds to really address food waste and how to reduce food waste. And so whether we are reducing food, reusing food, saving food, or then composting food. And so we had 22 grantees that had really interesting, innovative ways to sort of stop food from getting into the food stream or using it in a different and interesting way. And this is a program that Caroline ran for DSLBD, and we were announcing those grantees and celebrating them for Earth Day. So you should say a little bit about that program.
Sure.
Yeah, we're really excited that of those 22 businesses awarded, it represents business in every single ward of the city, every different kind of food business, from corner stores to cocktail bars and cafes to restaurants and to shared commercial kitchens. And each project, it allowed those food businesses to be able to really be looking at reducing the food waste that they were generating. So the additional costs for the businesses, to be donating more edible food so they were throwing away less, and then to be composting, to keep food waste out of our dumpsters and our alleys, to have more frequent food waste collection so that we're reducing our rodents while we're also helping meet Mayor Bowser's Sustainable DC 2.0 goal of reducing food waste by 60% in the district.
We want to feed people and not rodents. And and as business owners, we know, any dollar saved is a dollar earned. And we were really excited at the interesting and innovative ways that we're helping businesses sort of save those dollars, find interesting ways to feed their customers, feed their customer base, and then also help the community, because sometimes, saving that food and then helping take that food and feed people that are a little bit less fortunate is a great opportunity instead of just throwing it away. And so we saw a lot of really, wonderful and interesting ways. I think it's a 360-degree approach to food waste. And like, before you throw it away, how can we use that food better, for the environment, for the economy, for the city?
A lot of people are having the same issue in their own homes. And so it would be interesting to hear maybe one or two examples of one of the businesses and what their idea was that ended up getting awarded.
Absolutely. Well, I think one example that we had here today was Ben Lynn from B. Lynn Catering, and his example is very transferable to your house. So he started by proposing that he was going to build a few raised beds and actually be producing more of his herbs and greens on site. Things like basil and lettuce can go bad really quickly in your refrigerator. And the fresher that you're picking them, including from your own yard or your own windowsill, the fresher it is when you cook it, and also the longer it will last. He's also then purchasing more locally. When food doesn't have to travel across the country, it's able to be sold to you, consumed by you, much with less transportation time and less cost. And then Ben is also looking at, with excess food, looking at how he can donate food at the end of the day. So if you're hosting an event at your house, whether you're celebrating Earth Day or any of the many holidays around this time of year, figuring out how you can prepare the right amount of food for the guests you're serving. And that's part of his proposal as well. And then last, but certainly not least, B. Lynn Catering is going to start composting. So taking their food scraps, there's always food left over. Even if you are very creative about using your onion peels to make a soup stock, or your lemon rinds to make a cocktail syrup. Whatever you're doing, you will have scraps at the end, and those can all be composted. So working with another one of the recipients, Compost Cab, which is a CBE here in the district, a certified business enterprise. And so Compost Cab is going to be collecting those food scraps, composting it both at community gardens and at industrial composting facility, and then turning it into this rich black gold that can then be used back in those same gardens. So all of those pieces are things that you can do at home.
And when that doesn't go into the dumps, talk a little bit about what happens when that doesn't go into the dumps.
Absolutely. Well, and this really brings it back to Earth Day. The food waste in the US is one of the largest pieces of our waste stream. So it's filling our landfills, our incinerators, and it's having really negative impacts there, because food waste, when it goes to landfill, decomposes and generates methane, which is one of the most powerful greenhouse gases leading to climate change and global warming, which is making our city wetter, wilder, and warmer weather. And so when we are able to actually reduce that, we're also having a positive impact on climate change, and we're starving our rodents so that we're having fewer rats in our alleys because they're not having that food that they're finding in dumpsters and in garbage cans.
This is excellent information. And, we did our sustainability issue yesterday. It's out today, and we'll make sure you get copies before you leave. We didn't talk about composting, but I've always been pretty fascinated about that. And I know that they're, Director Whitfield, I know they're composting places across the city. I don't know if that idea or concept has actually made its way east of the river, but are there places on your websites where people can go and gain maybe more ideas and more information about how more district residents, in addition to other businesses, can be a part of this movement?
There absolutely are. And let me say that, it's funny because composting is happening east of the river. Worm farming is happening east of the river. We are doing all the things east of the river. And I think that sometimes people think that certain things are only for certain people. No, it's all available to us all across the city.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
And dslbd.dc.gov is where you can go to our website and learn a little bit more, and also maybe Compost Cab, you think?
That's right. You can also, so one thing for residents, just specific places, if residents from east of the river are watching this, The Ward 8 Farmers Market is one of the food waste drop-off sites in the district. And one of the projects, why we're here in Congress Heights today, is because Congress Heights Main Streets was one of the largest award winners to implement a composting program throughout Congress Heights.
Ooh.
And that will include food scrap drop-off for residents at the Soul of the City Market. And why that benefits small business is because when folks who want to be composting are bringing their food scraps to markets, they're also going to buy from those small business vendors. And we've seen that in markets throughout the city where food scrap drop-offs happen, more people come to that market and more people buy from that market. So check out the Soul of the City Market as well as the Ward 8 Farmers Market to drop off your food scraps. And you can visit compostcab.com/FWIG. That's the Food Waste Innovation Grants, or zerowaste.dc.gov for more tips for your home or your business.
Because all it takes is just like a little bucket, and it doesn't stink. It is not gross. But I think to your point, are people doing it? We've been gardening. We've all been gardening. We've been doing this. It's good for the soil. It's good for your health. And it is actually very easy to do. So I think we can do this, guys. We can do it, and it's easier. It's easier than people think it is. Oh, she's giving us.
And
the
it's a family fun way too. That's the other thing I like about it. All of that brings families together, and I know my husband is waiting for me to get out there in that yard. I promised to do it this weekend. So you all have inspired me. And so I want to thank you so much for coming. I mean, just the fact that you were here, but you were able to spend a few minutes with us to share this great information on Earth Day. So have a wonderful, beautiful Earth Day.
Thank you for having us.
All right.
Happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day.
Thank you. Thank you. So that was great. I want to hear your stories. I want to hear what you all are doing out there in the community and how you're kind of making things happen. I know community gardens are really great. I love being corrected. And so I've got to find out where those compost places are, because unfortunately, like a lot of folks, we, just throw away too much. We let food go bad. We go groceries, and we can't afford that right now because the cost of food is outrageous. And so it's important. It is very important for us to learn how we can be at one with the earth and not and decrease the waste. That's what's most important, to decrease the waste. So I'm waiting for Sherry to come back in because I want to bring up our next guest. As I mentioned, we did a sustainability issue, and sometimes we don't even know whether we should call it that because we are talking about celebrating the earth. And Dr. Sherman and her team of writers that do and that do all the special issues for us actually was the editor again of our sustainability issue. And we are grateful to have her with us today, along with Ariel Lowe and Isaac Welch, two students from Howard University. So I want to welcome all of you all to WIN TV.
Thank you.
Dr. Sherman, looks like we have a new topic to talk about next year. Well, we've done this before, though. We have done this before. Mm-hmm.
And I just, happy Earth Day. Hey, good to see you, Steve, as well. I just want to follow up on that. I think it's amazing that you actually had a crew outside that's looking at repurposing food. There's a great app called Too Good to Go. And basically, you just put in your zip code, and within a 6-mile radius, I have it on my phone. You can't really see that, but Too Good to Go will tell you different restaurants in the area. It is broken down by categories and food types and all of that, where they're about to get rid of food and it's still edible, but it's past the point where they may want to sell it. Mm-hmm. And so it has another shelf life of maybe a day or two. Mm-hmm. And so this could be any type of food. So there are like Indian restaurants on here. There's vegetarian restaurants on here. There's Jamaican restaurants on here. And you literally just put in the app, and it'll tell you whatever you get will cost you $4 or $2.
Wow.
And you literally pay for it through the app, and then you just run by and pick it up.
Not bad. Right, so, okay, that's wonderful.
So yeah.
Yeah, because you often, you're in these restaurants and you're like, especially during COVID and now we can't say post-COVID, but sort of, restaurants really had to cut down on the amount of food that they were purchasing and preparing. but because, it costs them money, but then there's a waste, and you still wonder, they get 3 customers in a day and they've got enough food to feed 100. That doesn't work. So it makes sense to have that app. So thanks for sharing. So Dr. Sherman, you've done this sustainability issue for a few years now. And one, I want to know about the theme that you did for this year, but I really want to know for you personally, what has working on something like this, which is frustrating. A lot of times people say that Black people aren't really into sustainability or environmental issues or what have you. I mean, talk about the evolution, if there was one that you had once you started doing this, and then the theme for this week.
I don't believe that there really has been an evolution, except perhaps in the fact that people recognize that we're here now. But we've always, African Americans have always found a multitude of ways of using any particular thing. And so whether it's food, and when we talk about from the rooter to the tutor, or, we know what it is, to take the scraps of different foods to create something else. And often it becomes the scraps that become the main dish, or the thing that we actually love the most. So we've always done that. If it's when we first started talking about the plastic bag issues in DC, I kept laughing because I was thinking, many African Americans will get a plastic bag, but that then becomes the trash bag. And that then becomes, the bin liner, or that then becomes the pooper scooper bags that you use later on. So we have a tendency to repurpose things anyway. We've always gardened. We've always canned foods or jarred foods. So it's always been there. I think that just as the rest of the world is coming around to it, we're starting to realize this is something that grandma and great grandma or grandpa did years ago. And maybe moving into urban spaces, we lost some of that, but we've still found ways, again, of repurposing almost everything we have, even the Crown Royal bags, and I laugh about that. That becomes the change bag.
It's funny because I did an editorial this week, and really I talked about the fact that it was the Africans sort of just like the Native Americans, connection to the earth that made us such great farmers.
Yes.
And while we didn't benefit from what our knowledge was, or what was innately with a part of us, we were used, to actually our skills were used to feed a world, and always has been. And so, it's an interesting kind of progress. But your theme this week is
building for Mother Nature's wrath. And initially the thought came to me is that across DC right now, there's an extreme amount of building. And whether it's renovations or just new developments, it's all there. And so I started looking at the fact that years ago, buildings were built for a 99-year purpose or longer. So if you go again to historical colleges, Duke University, or Georgetown, whatever. These are buildings that were built then and they're still standing. So a storm could come through, floods could come through, but they were built to last. And I kept thinking, the buildings that are being built now, will they stand the test of time? And then in speaking with Melvin Mitchell, who's an amazing, iconic architect, he was able to kind of break down, some of the issues that African Americans as builders, as master builders, already knew. And so again, this thing of the rest of the world is catching up to what we were already doing, whether it was making bricks out of straw or other things, not trying to move necessarily into concrete, but finding different ways of using steel and different types of metals to make sure that they sustained the environment, but didn't let off this carbon, the carbon emissions that will later on cause problems that we're trying to deal with now. We've already been in the forefront of this. It's just that no one knew that we were there. So I thought it would be great to kind of explore what we're doing as far as storms and these natural disasters that the climate change has caused to kind of surface at this point.
Wonderful. And one of the things you always do in your issues that I think is so special is to provide a reading list or books that relate to the topic. And did you discover, I know you had a few in there, but is there one you would recommend to our viewers?
Well, oddly enough, one of the books that I left out of that list for space purposes, though, was Melvin Mitchell's new book. So if you can find that, it basically deals with African American builders, and specifically how they've put their plans to the forefront. And again, only now are people starting to realize, oh, this is, master craftsmanship. And it's something that we need, and we've needed all along. So I would definitely recommend that. I'm trying to see if I have it sitting somewhere in the list of books, but I don't here. I'll put it in the chat when I find it, though.
So we had the opportunity to work with some students from Howard University, the capstone class, who were also creating or writing articles that dealt with Earth Day or sustainability. And we have two of them with us, Ariel Lowe and Isaac Welch, two individuals that will be graduating from Howard in a few weeks. Woo woo! I'm going to actually kind of turn it over to you a little bit, Shantella, to talk to them about their articles and kind of what they wrote about and what have you.
Well, first I want to thank HU and Dr. Lamb, Yannick Rice Lamb, for allowing us to pilfer some of her students for this great work this year. So first, Ariel and Isaac, if you would introduce yourselves. Again, I like it better when you guys say who you are and talk a little bit about each of you, what you decided to work on and why.
Absolutely. You can go first, Ariel.
Well, first off, hi, my name is Ariel Lowe. I am a graduating senior journalism major and criminology minor from Charlotte, North Carolina. And I worked on two stories. The first is called How a North Carolina Fertilizer Plant Uncovered the History of Geographical Racism and Segregation. And the second one is called The Chemicals in Your Sandwich Wrapper, Pots and Pans That Never Die. So the first one, I wanted to look at the Winston Weaver fertilizer plant, which caught on fire at the end, towards the end of January 31st, and it burned for 4 days straight. And a lot of those who were within the mile radius of the fertilizer plant were Black or of minority communities. And so I was a bit curious because I know that, Black people tend to live near industrial facilities, and a bit curious as to, okay, so how did all of these particular Black people end up near this plant? So the story is just basically looking into the city's history of environmental racism, segregation, and then also the state of North Carolina as a whole. And then the second story is based off a study done by Consumer Reports, which tested numerous products, some of which included fast food packaging for a chemical known as PFAS, also known as forever chemicals, because of the fact that once they get in your body, they kind of stay there for a long time. So looking into, how that's detrimental, what can we do to solve this issue in the long run, and things of that nature.
And it was brilliant. Thank you. Yes, Isaac.
For sure. All right. So my name is Isaac Welch. I'm a graduating senior as well. Born in Houston, Texas, but from Portland, Maine. And I did a story on centered around environmental racism as well, and related topics. It's also focused on gentrification in Anacostia. So my article was centered around basically just the Anacostia River and how the ecology of this defining feature affects the neighborhood and the lives of the people around it. Mainly focusing on new improvements that are coming to the river. There are a handful of organizations that are dedicated to improving its quality, such as the Anacostia Watershed Society. They've made a commitment to make the river swimmable and fishable by EPA standards by 2025, which to many is kind of a stark claim when you first hear it, but they're very dedicated to that. And we're also looking at how improving the quality of the river affects the stigma and affects, just the lives in general of the people here. So I went around, I interviewed people from the Watershed Society, interviewed some local residents, and I really got a good, sample of how people feel and how people perceive this environment, and how the river is related to that. So yeah.
Do you think that either of you learned something within this process that you didn't know before?
Yeah, I would say so. In my article, learning about gentrification, one thing that I learned is that, when we think about gentrification, it's kind of spoken of in general terms, wherein we think of white demographic encroaching in a black neighborhood. However, gentrification, the root of it just means, people in general. So that refers to more than just racial demographics. That refers also to people of different income brackets and different levels of education, um, and just the fluctuation of people from different socioeconomic statuses coming into different areas. It's more than just a black and white issue. So looking at how that affects longstanding communities as well is an important thing for us to be aware of.
I think I've learned a lot about North Carolina as a whole. Even though I'm from there, I didn't really know much about the city of Winston-Salem. Sorry. I have family that's from there, but learning about the city's history and dealing with racism and segregation was something new for me. As well as, I learned some things such as North Carolina has a lot of poultry producing farms, and most of them are located in Eastern North Carolina, which, coincidentally, or maybe not, but it's located near a lot of Black and Brown communities. And, that affects them very negatively as well. And also learning about, concerning the forever chemicals, the fact that they're pretty ubiquitous, and, there's not much data and knowledge about them, especially what they can do for you in the long run. But it could prove to be a problem, especially knowing that Black people typically tend to consume more fast food than other races. And also even in your nonstick pans, which, I cook with mostly nonstick pans, but learning about that and how that's detrimental. And also it just lets you look inward to figure out solutions, like, okay, these are the things and these are the actions that I need to take to make this change, not just in the community, but in society.
Right.
Dr. Sherman, I could listen to Isaac and Ariel all day long because I'm learning so much. One, about the stories they tell, but just how they've explored all these topics. Isaac, you're doing a Earth Day event today. You want to tell us about it?
Yeah. So we're posted up right in front. I don't know if you can see the Anacostia Community Rec Center, right by the river. And we've reached out to a bunch of volunteers from Howard and just the surrounding areas, just to come volunteer their time and help assess some of the pollution and some of the trash that's affecting the river. So we have that going on today. We're still waiting on some volunteers to pull through, but it's kind of a two-part event. We have the cleanup happening this morning, and then later in the afternoon we're gonna have some live music going on as well. Just to celebrate our work and to celebrate Earth Day.
Wonderful. Ariel, you do anything special for Earth Day today? Besides being with us?
Unfortunately, not at the moment, because I do have work, but maybe something this weekend to make up for that.
Fantastic. Well, Dr. Sherman, one, I think you did a great job with the issue this week. We're really trying to get it out. You'll find some of their stories, not only in the paper, but online as well. And, you all keep up the great work. I know there's some fantastic things ahead of you. Ariel, I heard you getting ready to go work for Bloomberg, an internship with Bloomberg. And I see that great, fantastic writing that you're doing needs to be read across the globe. So I wish you the best with that. And you too, Isaac, who knows, folks might see you again someplace familiar. We don't know.
Hopefully.
So good luck to you all. And thank you again for your participation and great job, Dr. Sherman.
Thank you. Just to let you know, Melvin Mitchell's book is African American Architects Embracing Culture and Building Urban Communities.
All right. We saw that in the private chat, but we're going to put that in the regular comments so that our viewers can see it. And a lot of folks out there saying, wishing you all congratulations and good luck and all of that. So again, thank you so much. And tell Professor Lamb we said thank you.
Thank you.
Will do. Right. Thank you guys so much.
Okay, doke. So It's always good, always good. You all know I love having young folks on our calls and on our show. I should actually say, and they are Howard students this year. Are just not that they're. I mean, I'm a HU grad 2 times as well, but I've had a lot of encounters with students there from the School of Communications, and they are phenomenal. I have to say it. They are some phenomenal young people, and we don't have much to worry about as long as they, we continue to support them. So we're going to welcome now Mitchell Berliner and Deborah Moser, who are founders and owners of Central Farm Market and operators of Half Street Central Farm Market, as well as Keisha Sherman of Simply Delicious Desserts, and I'm getting hungry, who's one of the vendors there. So welcome to Win TV.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Hi. So I'm going to start with you, Deborah and Mitch. Tell us about the markets. We're so glad that the seasons have changed, and now, folks find, it's better than going to a club, hanging out at a market. So tell us about where you are and where people can find you, and also the new market that's opening.
Thank you very much. Of course, the easiest way for your listeners and anybody to find out is just to go to Central Farm Markets. That's plural, centralfarmmarkets.com.
Okay.
They'll have all 4 locations, which is obviously one of the newer ones on Half Street, right at the entrance of Nats Stadium between M and N. The whole street will be closed for the farmers market, opening on May 7th. And for farmers markets generally, and for us in particular, every day is Earth Day, because we want people to buy local from local farmers, local artisan food producers, so food doesn't come from thousands of miles away. We have compost at our markets, and we also have a relationship wherever we are with food banks and people of that nature. So Manna Food Bank in Montgomery County, Food for Others in Northern Virginia, and now we are hooking up with DC Central Kitchen to both help with some of their interns, as well as glean at the end of the market. So none of the food ends up in the trash.
That's good news, especially today. That's great news. Keisha, you are one of the vendors that's going to be there at the Half Street Market. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So tell us about Simply Delicious Desserts.
Well, we're a mother and daughter business. We've started over 30 years ago professionally. We cater to all types of baked goods, especially desserts. Homemade desserts is our main ingredient. We work with a lot of farmers in the area, so all of our desserts are fresh made. We work with local dairies in the area and also local farmers with fresh fruits and vegetables.
I'm curious for all 3 of you how you got into this, this fresh food business, and what is it that's kept you into it? I mean, you, Keisha, as well as Deborah and Mitch. I mean, what was the attraction? Were you farmers or what?
Well, I will just tell you that I had a very unusual upbringing. This is close to my 60th year in the food business. Yes, I'm old. And my parents never had processed food in the house. We never had candy or soda, ever. And we would go to farms to get produce, which is really, and actually poultry as well, which was pretty unusual in the 1950s and 60s when I grew up. So
and where was that? Where was that, Mitch? Where did you grow up?
I'm sorry, I said
Where did you grow up? I
grew up outside of New York City on Long Island when it was in the middle of a transition from farms to the suburbs. So from like the 1940s, 1948 on. And so food was just always a big thing in my house. And I started working in restaurants at 16 years old. And I've never stopped being in the food business. And this is like one of our retirement projects that got completely out of control.
Today we have 4 farmers markets around the region.
Wow.
It's very important to us, as Mitch said, and Keisha, to buy local, to support the farms, support people industry, local food production, and of course, as Mitch said, it doesn't come from thousands of miles away.
Keisha, how about yourself? Because you said you use local farmers for some of your products. Talk about how you got into this business.
Well, my great grandfather had a candy business, which he made all of his candy by hand. It was in Petersburg, Virginia. So basically, my family has always made desserts. I learned baking from my grandmother. I would stay in the kitchen with her every day, and we always had a homemade cake literally every day for dinner. And I just took on that love and enjoyed baking, so I just took on that passion and I just started doing it. And what I was doing was giving my baked goods as gifts. That would be my holiday gifts to my family members and to friends.
Yeah.
And then from there, people was like, you know what, you should start doing a business. And my former background, I was with the media for a very long time and just kind of got burnt out. And I said, I wanted to do something that I really enjoy, and I enjoy baking, and that's how I got started.
And you said mother-daughter. Are you the mother or the daughter?
I'm the daughter.
Okay.
I'm the daughter.
I mean, I didn't know if there was a next generation coming along.
No, not yet. No.
Yeah. Okay. All right. But that's good, because we know where they're going to end up when they come.
Yes.
Male or female, right?
Right.
Because men make great bakers.
Mhm.
So, Mitch, why did you all decide to open a market at Half Street? How did this? Why was this location attractive to you?
Well, we've been doing this for about 14 years, and we've had many developers come to us, many over the years, and ask us to open a farmers markets in different areas all over Metro DC. And candidly, I don't want to give us any more work. 7 days a week is enough. But the Half Street Market seemed like such a fabulous place to be. And the developers and the merchants were also wonderful. And behind this, it was like impossible for us to say no. And that's how it happened.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And so what will be the hours of operation?
The market will be open from 9 to 1:30 every Saturday, May 7th through the weekend before Christmas, and we'll be open.
Okay. And so in addition to baked goods like Simply Delicious desserts, and then, of course, the produce, what else will be available there?
We have a lot.
We have all kinds of meats, poultry,
fish, cheese. We have a cheesemonger. We have fermented foods. We have cold pressed juices.
We have
so
prepared
fresh
foods
juices. We have
to
prepared
go
foods
or
to
eat
go.
on the spot.
So
We have
there's-
live music. We're dog friendly. So basically, what's happened is every time we've opened the market, it just sort of happened almost by accident. Now it's not an accident, but we've become the village green, and people love to hang out there. So it's more than just let's quick get some tomatoes and get out of here. People get to greet their neighbors, talk to people that actually make their breads or their cakes or grow their food, etc.
And one of the things we love to do in each community we go into, we allow space for nonprofits. So those groups that reach out to citizens of that area and want to help, we say, come on in, and we schedule them in, and they can come in and reach out to the public that way as well. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
We've done things like teach CPR, adopt a puppy. We've had mentoring groups try to come in and get patrons to mentor in different fields. So we really are very, very connected to that and love to do that service.
we also have chef demos. There will be a lot of chef demos. There will be a lot of nutrition education going on. And as Mitch said, when you talk to our vendors, they're very knowledgeable. You go to Keisha's stand, you're going to find out a lot about what they do and what's healthy and what's good.
So Keisha, what's the top seller in from Simply Delicious Desserts?
Well, if I have to pick one, I would say our pies. Our pies are homemade. They have the handmade lattice topping, which everyone goes crazy over because that's pretty much impossible to do. My mom is the one that does the lattice toppings. And then also, I would say our fresh fruit loaves. We use a lot of fruits from the area and the vegetables. So, like as far as like a zucchini bread, blueberry lemon loaf, those are our top items.
I'm getting hungrier the more you talk, and the more both of you all do, because it sounds like something really great. And it's really good to see these farmer markets all over the city. I know we've got to bring one from the neighborhood in as well and talk to them about, what's being offered. But it's a great gathering spot. Like you said, you're offering so much there. You learn about the food, you learn a lot of other things. And so I'm glad that you all were here to join us today, particularly on Earth Day, to talk about, sustainability and how we can feed our families. And I'm sure that, there's probably little kids that even come up and say, "What's that?"
Oh, they
Yes.
do. They do.
I must comment. This is kind of interesting. I've had patrons over the last 14 years say how happy they are, and then we're definitely family oriented.
Mhm.
That unlike virtually every other place you go, it's not a big amount of candy offered at the cash register. When you
Ah,
go to the supermarket, the health food store, even the hardware store, it ends up being a battle. So I've had so many moms and dads say to us, "We're so glad we could take our kids someplace where there's not candy at every counter." And
Mhm.
it's fun to watch the kids walking through the market, nibbling on berries, cucumbers, a pickle. It's really fun, and it's a nice change.
yeah, yeah. Of course, you can't resist probably one of your donuts, right, Keisha? You sell donuts?
Not yet. We're
Oh,
working.
well, then I don't have to worry about that either.
But
What
we have
about
plenty
cookies?
more for you to try.
You have
Cookies?
to try her pies.
Cookies,
Yes, yes.
cookies, cupcakes, pies. Yes.
Wonderful. Okay,
Hmm.
well, it's
Fresh
all
baked
good.
breads. Yes, we have it
It's
all.
it's all good. It's all good. Thank you all so much for joining us and for
Thank
sharing
you.
this. And again, you open what? You said
Open May 7th.
May 7th.
We'll have a
Okay.
ribbon cutting and a lot of fun that day. We've
And a
got
lot of freebies. We're giving away market insulated bags. So we've got a lot of things on opening day. Live music.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. Look forward to coming down to meeting you, Keisha, Deborah, Mitch, and congratulations, and
Thank
have
you.
a great summer. All righty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for joining us. All righty. Yeah, farmers markets are a lot of fun, but sometimes, and this guest really excites me. You all may know, let's bring him on in, Charles Wilson. So many of you all may know Charles from his political background. I did see that a great story was written about you several years ago, Charles, in the Washington Post. But Charles is, the politician's politician. He doesn't really run for office, but he's certainly in charge of all the people who are.
Maybe one day.
Oh, okay. All right. You heard it here. You heard it here. Because you have served in positions as the chair of the DC Democrats and also the Ward 8 Dems and all of that. But you have a pastime. You have a lot of friends, like those creatures behind you
Yeah.
that you spent your life with. Tell us about your bee farm.
Yeah. So I think it was maybe about 7 years ago. Somebody sent a notice on our neighborhood listserv about a beekeeping course. And I noticed the course was going to be held near my parents' house in Maryland. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna head over to my parents' house anyway. Let me stop by this course at Watkins Park and just kind of hear what they're talking about. And it was about an hour, hour and a half, and I fell in love. I was like, you know what? I have to try this. This is a hobby I can pick up where I don't have to have a degree or a certificate or go back to school. It's like I can try this and have my own science experiment in my backyard.
Hmm.
And literally, that's how I got started with beekeeping. Literally that spring, I put 2 hives in my backyard, and I haven't turned back since. It's
Wow.
been a lot of fun. Painful at times, but a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've talked to people in preparation for this show, and I've heard you have I don't know if you still share it, but you had some of the best honey that people have ever had. I mean, they're speaking really highly about your honey. You still producing honey?
I do, but I do produce. Of course I don't produce the
I
honey.
know you don't.
The bees produce the honey, but yeah, no, I have several times, and I'm gonna hopefully have some more probably in June. I'm crossing my fingers that things work out.
Yeah, because we want to see you at one of those farmers markets,
Yeah.
selling. So, I mean, what did it take though to get into this bee farming?
It probably start. You have to be prepared to put in an investment for about $300 initially, and that includes buying the equipment like the beehive itself. It's a lot of fun to kind of put it together on your own, just so you see how it works. Of course, purchasing the bees, a package of bees, and then I always recommend that you have protective equipment, meaning the face shield and the bodysuit and the gloves. There are some out there who are much braver than I that will go in and without any protection. But believe it or not, I'm actually allergic to bees.
Wow.
So I have to have protection. And so, starting out, initially you're gonna probably spend about make a $300 investment, and then people ask like, what do the bees eat? And pretty much you feed them sugar water, and it's pretty much you just buy a pound of sugar from the store, mix it with water, and fill up their tank every week, and they'll eat directly from that.
Wow. Interesting. I mean, as we talk about Earth Day, and I know there's been a lot of conversation about bees disappearing,
Mm-hmm.
And what's causing that. But I guess tell me about how this really contributes to growing the population of bees, if it does. And also, because I know nothing about this, so, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers don't know either, but how this contributes also to maybe the other things that might be happening in your yard, growing flowers or other plants. How does it work?
Yeah, so I always kind of considered myself an environmentalist, but it wasn't until I became a beekeeper that I started paying specific attention to the climate, and the change in the seasons and how important that was to the ecosystem that we live. You want to have a healthy winter. You don't want it to be 70 degrees in December. Yes, we all enjoy the weather and be able to, put back the coat. But having consistent warm days like that is not healthy for the ecosystem. You don't want flowers blooming in December or January. You want it to be cold, so it kills off a lot of the parasites that might that have impacted bee populations. So you really do want a healthy winter, and you want spring to start on time, because the bees are on a cycle; they stay on a cycle. So you want the flowers to start blooming in March, and really take off in April and May, and then that way, by the time June comes, they're producing the honey that you can actually sell at the farmers market. But in addition to that, I remember when I first bought my home, I would go to a local department store, and if I saw weeds in the sidewalk, I would buy the pesticide that we all have used and spray, the dandelion, because I was like, oh, that looks ugly. But bees actually pollinate, will visit the dandelion that you just sprayed pesticides on. And they will actually take that pesticide with them back to the hive, and have a detrimental impact on the health of that hive, and possibly kill off the entire hive. Wow. So, when you see the weeds in the sidewalk or the dandelions, don't spray them. Either use a weed whacker or just pull them up with your hand. There are some environmentally friendly products that you can use, but it's always easier just to pull them up with your hand. In addition to that, so, you want a healthy winter to kill off some of the parasites that can explode in the springtime and actually take over a hive. And it's happened to me once or twice, and it's an ugly scene when you have to go into a hive and the entire hive is decimated because of a parasite. And so, this experience over the last 7-8 years of beekeeping has taught me a lot and taught me how to pay attention to the climate and the products that we use.
Now, you're not in the suburbs. I didn't mention it for those who don't know. I mean, you live right here, Southeast Ward 8. Our houses, most of them are either connected or very close to our neighbors. What do your neighbors say about your hives?
Well, many of them actually don't see the hive
Okay.
because it's in the backyard and it's fenced in. Um, but I've had to convince my wife that it was okay to have a beehive in the backyard. So any complaints I get, when I say, hey, you know what? Yes, I do have a beehive in the backyard, and you know what? I'll drop off a jar of honey in the springtime. When I say that, it typically quells any concerns. But I also tell people that, especially honeybees and most bees are not there to attack you. I know in the media, like, you see the killer bees or the swarm. Most bees do not want to sting you. They only sting when they feel threatened. In particular, honeybees, they don't want to sting you because if they do, their abdomen will pull off from the rest of their body and be stuck in your skin and they'll die. They don't want to commit suicide like that. So anytime, typically when you get a bee sting is because they feel threatened in a way. And I've been doing this now for 7-8 years, and every time I've gotten stung, it's been pretty much because I didn't follow the rules of engagement when it comes to bees. And so you just have to be patient and understand the personality of the bees, and you should be fine. And of course, always wear protective equipment just in case.
That's fantastic. Before we close, is there any words of advice you would give to someone who's really thought about this but just hasn't taken that step?
Yeah, no, I encourage, if you're interested, we need more beekeepers out there. And just go to Google and type in beekeeping course for beginners. And you'll find a number of beekeeping courses in the district or surrounding jurisdictions. I'm actually on a Telegram chat right now where I'm getting alerts for swarms going on in the district, and see if I or my fellow beekeepers around the city can go pick up the swarm and start a new hive. So there's a need for you, and I think it's a lot of fun. And the big reward is after that year investment, the honey season. That's when things really get sweet, as I would say.
Wow. I mean, I'm scratching my head now to think about picking up a swarm. What is that? I got to ask you about that before I let you go. What does that look like? What is that?
Yeah. So think about it like you're in your house. My wife and I, when we got married, we had a 2-bedroom house, and we had our first son. And the house, it started to get kind of crowded in the house. And we said we need a bigger place to live before our growing family. I had my stuff, she had her stuff, and we wanted to move to another house. And that's what a swarm is. Pretty much the bees are saying we don't have enough space where we're currently living, and we need to go find a new location to live. And so they leave the hive, meaning they swarm from the hive. They all go together, thousands of bees, and they park themselves like on a tree branch or side of a house or side of a car. And during that time that they're there, they're sending scouts out around to find a new home for them to live. And believe it or not, that's when they're the least aggressive, when they swarm, because they're just really looking for a new place to live. They're not looking to attack anybody that you see in the movies.
So how do you gather them? How do you catch them?
Sure. So normally what people do, I'll take a big plastic bucket and poke holes on the top for air. And depending on how high the swarm is, I'll attach the bucket to a broomstick and just come right under the bees and just like knock them down into the bucket, close the bucket up, and take them to
their new home. Wow. Yeah. Wow, gosh. I'm so proud of you, Charles. You're rescuing bees. You're helping bees to live. You're making honey. You're not making honey, but, have happy bees who are making honey. Yes. And contributing to the sustainability of the environment. That's really fantastic. I just want to thank you so much for taking some time to talk to us about this, to learn your other side. Yeah, and hopefully I'll see you at one of these farmers markets. I want some of that honey.
All right, sounds
So
good.
later on in the season.
Sounds good.
All right. Take care of yourself.
All right,
Stay
thank
safe.
you.
Okie
Okay.
doke. All right. We're going to switch and we're running over, but this was really important because, as you all know, we are really concerned about helping our communities not only to live in healthy environments, but also to learn how to make their families and their communities more sustainable. And so that's why I'm really, really excited to have our next guest with us, who is actually Mr. Rodney Brooks, who's written a book on fixing the racial wealth gap, racism and discrimination. And it's really welcome, Rodney. How are you?
Thank you. I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I mean, I purchased your book when I first heard that it was out, and it's really basic and easy to read, but it has such strong lessons in it. And so, if you could tell me, what it motivated you to write a book about the racial wealth gap, which is something we talk about quite a bit.
Yes. Well, I have always been basically promoting financial planning and financial literacy. And people have been after me for years to write a book that applied specifically to Black people, financial planning, and why specifically to Black people? Why it's different is because our issues are so much different from white Americans. So during the pandemic, it made sense to combine the racial wealth gap with that financial planning guide for African Americans, and that's sort of people telling me for years, and it was the right time to do it.
And I think your book addresses this, which I think is so important. We hear a lot, I mean, so often about this wealth gap. We don't always understand what has happened to other than slavery, right? About why we have this gap, and we haven't really looked at the steps that need to be taken to close this gap. You do that in your book, and so talk a little bit about that.
Okay, well, I just thought it was the first how we got here. I thought it was important that we don't just say, okay, we got all these issues, and to really talk about what really put us here, and it was racism and discrimination. So you could talk about. Actually, there was a lot written about during the social justice protests about Tulsa, and how there was a thriving Black middle class community and it was burned to the ground by an angry white mob. Well, Tulsa, many people don't realize this, that Tulsa was repeated, dozens and dozens of times in basically every major American city. And thriving Black communities and Black wealth was burned to the ground. And then you look at things, just moving on to another one. World War II, the Veterans Act, okay, was supposed to help veterans, but it ended up helping white veterans more than Black veterans. And how did that happen? Basically, when Congress passed the act, they pushed the administration down to states. So states did everything they could. Okay, at that time, veterans coming back from World War II, veterans did everything they could to keep Black veterans from benefiting. And housing is such a key part of wealth, anybody's wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And so the housing assistance, I mean, we never got. And I point to one thing in the book, it's Levittown, which was basically all these houses built for veterans and offered to veterans at cheap prices. Black veterans could not live in those communities like Levittown. And in fact, there were covenants that outlawed Black people from living in those communities. And so from there you had these white veterans starting to build generational wealth because they owned
Mm-hmm.
homes, and Black veterans were just shut out. So and so then you talk about, so where are we? Well, the average white household have white households have an average wealth of $171,000, and that compares to an average of 17,000 for Black households. And then you look at home ownership. We talked about how important that is. And 43% of Black Americans own home compared to 73% of white Americans. Uh, and we know about redlining, we know about racial discrimination when it comes to mortgage loans and real estate. So that's why I felt like I had to lay it out. Okay, we didn't do this to ourselves. I mean,
Right.
all these things were we have experienced this, and as a result, um, our way of life has suffered.
And that's hundreds. I mean, it's not only decades, but it's centuries of years where, and I think that's why so many people went from the word we want equality to we want equity, because equity just has is a different numerical, I guess, value when it comes to trying to make things to even the playing field.
Right.
But I mean, with that long history, and we're looking at this now, one, defining generational wealth, and I would like to ask you to do that for us. And also, will we? Is it right for us to measure ourselves against others who have always and will probably continue always to have more while we have less? Do we create a different standard for ourselves, or how does that work in this country? I mean, will we ever get equity? I guess that's the question I'm trying to get to.
Okay, we'll start out with basically generational wealth, and that's basically ensuring that you pass wealth from your generation to your children. Okay, and ways to do that are basically to leave a legacy. I mean, leaving a legacy with your children. Uh, if you own a house, leaving a house, you own stocks and bonds, but also basically estate planning. I mean, um, which is something that we don't do as a people the way we need to. Um, it's surveys have shown that we don't have wills done in the same numbers as white Americans, and when you don't have a will, it just sort of, I mean, that basically leaves it up to somebody else to
Mm-hmm.
to basically distribute your estate. So I'm big on estate planning. I think it's important. Financial literacy. Parents talking to their children. It's almost taboo for Black people to feel like it's almost taboo to talk about finance with their children, um, and it's and if you talk if you ever have dinner with a white family, it's an entirely different conversation.
Unless they're really rich. I saw a movie once where
That's right.
the really, really, really rich white people don't tell their kids. They don't tell them anything about the money. All they tell them is that you're rich, and that's it. Don't tell me. Don't ask me where the money came from. Don't ask me how we became wealthy. It's yours, and just be prepared
Right,
to
right.
manage it.
And I actually, friend Don Kelly owns a business in Jamaica, Queens, New York. Okay. And she talked about how when she was a little girl, her mother made her write out the checks for the bills.
Mm.
So she knew what everything cost, but she also knew, he said, I also knew to never ask for anything because I knew there was nothing left. And compare that to kids today
Yeah.
who parents pay their cell phone. They don't even know how much the cell phone bill is that their parents are paying.
Wow.
So it's they're increasingly teaching financial literacy in high schools, but some of it, some of it you have to say the parents didn't know and they don't know, but when they do teach the kids, they tend to share it with their parents, so that And another thing I'm pretty big on is find a financial planner. You
Mm.
know,
Mhm.
people it is important to have somebody to help you guide you through the process of saving because you don't know how to do it. It sounds simple, right? It sounds simple, but but we are as Black people tend to be very conservative investors. And I'm not saying go take a risk, get into risky things, but CDs are paying literally nothing now. So and we're kind of nervous about the market, and there's reasons for all of this. I mean, if you don't have a lot of money in the first place, you're nervous about basically risking it in the stock market when you invest. So
yeah, but it's interesting because I asked a minister once on the show. Churches teach us. I mean, that's part of what they do to tithe, that 10%. And so everybody's got that message, whether they do it or not. They've got that message, but we don't teach ourselves about the 10% that we ought to give to ourselves. My dad used to always say, "Pay yourself first," and I didn't understand what that meant because I didn't have anything to pay myself with. But I got it later on that that is important. No matter if you said $1, $5, 10, take a percentage, just like you do with the church. Take that 10% and put it someplace. So I think that message is a good one. Is a good one. So can we ever get to? I mean, what? Let's look into the looking glass here and say what's down the road for racial equity, or bridging this racial wealth gap in Black America.
Well, okay, basically, I see a two-pronged approach. Okay, one is the self-help. Okay, this is where we say, start saving, start investing, and one of the big ones is the free, what I call free money. When your company offers you a 401k and they offer a match and you don't participate, that's doesn't make sense. Okay, you're basically giving up free money. And I talked about finding a financial advisor, um, um, preferably a certified financial advisor. Now that's one. Okay, but that in itself, okay, all the improve your credit, do estate planning and then generational wealth. Okay, and but the other part is no, we will never be equal. I mean, financially, we won't close that gap by ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so that means government intervention or corporate intervention. And one way is reparations, which are quite controversial. And I don't know if we'll see them, but um, um, a Duke University economist did a book on reparations from here to equality. He estimated that it would take, if basically it would take $12 trillion to bring the average assets of a Black family up to that of a white family. And
Wow.
that's what it would
Mm-hmm.
cost for reparations.
Mm-hmm.
And that so reparations one, and then and there are housing basically. Um, there are communities that are experimenting with basically direct payments to poor residents. I mean, basically, and a couple in California, and some mayors have endorsed it. And when they followed up, it showed that those families that got those direct payments, even if it was just a couple of $100 a month, it made a difference in their lives, and it made them more positive about things. Okay,
Right.
okay, and the last thing is a thing that's called baby bonds. Um,
Mm.
that Cory Booker has introduced a bill, and basically, and the thing of baby bonds is basically the government would give every kid born $1,000 uh, every year. Okay, and and it would basically the ones with it would be based how much they would get would depend on their parents' income. So when they got so and a donation is made every year. So by the time they got 18, they would have money that they could use to college tuition, buy a home, buy a car, whatever. And um, it had Morningstar has estimated that baby bonds would cut the racial wealth gap basically in half.
It sounds good. It all sounds good. I think, though, you said the financial literacy is really important because, if you get that $1,000 and at the end of the day, it's not, you don't know what to do with it,
Right.
then you end up really not changing the paradigm. So,
Right.
but I like that there, folks are thinking about it. And what I really appreciate was your book. So
Thank
I
you.
wanted to get back to that. And I'm going to ask Sherry to put that back up again. And if you could tell folks where they could get a copy, because again, it's really easy to read, but it's chock full of great information. So how can folks get a copy?
It is available on Amazon and in both the hard copy and the ebook, and it is also available directly from the publisher. August Press is the publisher. August Press LLC. They're based in Virginia, and the way to get a signed copy would be to get it from the publisher.
Wonderful. Okay, I didn't do that. I should have. I don't know. But I'll find you and get mine signed.
Yes,
I want to do
we'll
that.
get yours signed.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being with us. Sorry that we ran over, but I thought this was important enough, as some folks have put in the chat, that we, that we're not acknowledging April as Financial Literacy Month. Of course, we need to talk about this every single day, and not just during the month of April. And I'm glad you had some time to spend with us to share such great information.
And thank you so much for inviting me.
Okie doke. Give Ms. Brooks, Dr. Brooks, my hello, and we hope to talk to her sometime soon as well.
Okay, I will do that.
Okie doke. All right, have a good one. Well, that brings us to the end of Win TV. I'm not sure. Do we have? We got the media prints this week. All right, what's going on, DC? So thank you all for hanging with us. It's been a long show. Hopefully you got a lot out of it. I hope to see you all at the farmers market, any farmers market, buying some of that honey from Charles Wilson, and that you'll pick up a copy of our sustainability issue this week, and maybe we'll all kind of talk about how we've been doing our composting and reading while we're eating that great food, reading how we bridge the racial wealth gap within our community. So having said all that, have a great weekend. Remember, stay safe. There's going to be some wonderful weather out there, and we'll see you next week.
It's Friday, folks, so you already know what that means. It's time for the media prints to smear DMV all up in your face. So welcome. Let's go! We bring you culture and taste, art and entertainment. We bring you history and politics. And we got all things DC. I even got you covered, Maryland and Virginia. Welcome to What's Going On, DC. Let's dive straight into it, shall we? In general news, Virginia police are routinely using secret GPS rings to track people's cell phones. So be on the lookout when you're in VA. According to DMV Scoop Hall, the Washington Dulles International Airport station is amongst us. Take a look. Did you know that the District of Columbia has the highest average rent in the United States at around $2,300 a month for a one-bedroom apartment? Hey, now see, that's why never mind. Next, in politics, looks like Mayor Bowser is investing in the DC's police amid worries from staff shortages, which I just told y'all about a few weeks ago. This is what she wrote, y'all. This is what she wrote. We certainly don't want to see it when one of our citizens is calling, but the police can't show up. The Virginia governor is looking into banning sales of Delta 8. For y'all, like, what is that? They are hemp products. He considers them weed, and he is proposing people face a misdemeanor charge if you have more than 2 ounces in your possession. What I tell y'all about Virginia, be careful. Maryland's Governor Hogan has vetoed the Child Interrogation Protection Act bill, which would have required that children be allowed to consult with a lawyer before they are interrogated by the police. Now, that's unfortunate because we don't want any of our children getting rehearsed answers of what to say. Now let's move on to our favorite part, entertainment. Taraji P. Henson has a special announcement with her TPH by Taraji products. Take a look.
TPH has some exciting news. We're expanding into body. We are launching 13 products, 3 collections exclusive to Walmart. All you gotta do is go to Walmart or walmart.com, grab what you need, and tell me what you think, because nobody goes like you.
Wale is back, and guess what? His More About Nothing mixtape is finally coming to streaming platforms. Take a look.
It means a lot to be like putting this out 10 years later. I mean, shit, like everything was just crazy 10 years ago. It's crazier 10 years now, but everything in between been a journey, been a blessing. You know what I mean? So they pressed me out enough. Let's go.
Doing nothing is not as easy as it looks. Because when you're doing nothing, you're free to do anything, which can lead to doing something that cuts into your nothing, and then you have to drop everything.
There you go.
DMV's own Wanda Sykes heads out on tour, and she will be home this October. Go get your tickets now. I know I'll be there. What about you? DMV's own Corday kills his first ever Coachella. Take a peek. A message from Fat Trail. DMV's own Amira Zaki is representing for Virginia on NBC's American Song Contest. Take a look and congratulations, yo. Now, if you've been watching the show, then you know that we like to step outside in the streets and get y'all take on what is actually happening in our area. So I checked the Epic store Zaza out and spoke with power player P. Stu and even chopped it up with Fabio Foreign. Check it out, shop at MLB. Hey, it's your boy, the Media Prince, and I want to welcome you to What's Going On DC Outside. We outside with it yet again. As y'all can hear the music in the background, that's Fabio Foreign cranking the tunes. We are right now about to go to Bible study right here at Zaza. We're going to talk to my man P. Stu place as well, and we're going to just party, kick it, tune in. I got my man Shot by MLB on the camera. Let's turn up.
Women's and kids down there, you know what I'm saying? Yeezys in the back, purple jeans, you know, boutique style, you know what I'm saying? We go upstairs and...
Oh, this is a whole vibe.
Mixed Pal, Blue Lows, all types of brands. I mean, they're only official retailer in the DMV that got the paper planes. So exclusive retailer for paper plays, apparel, Rock Nation, Vegas Jones, Emery Jones' son worked with us, shout out Justin. He worked with us in here, you know what I'm saying?
Dang, this means you gotta be lit to get exclusive stuff like this.
You know what I'm saying? As you saw our back, we a cultural hub too.
Yeah.
So artists, influencers, media, creatives can connect here.
Kendrick Lamar or Drake? Drake? Okay. Lil Wayne or Kanye West?
That might be a fact.
Cardi B or Megan Thee Stallion? Fabio Phone, ladies and gentlemen, shop at MLB. Zaza. Bow. Alright, so we leave in Zaza. Hey, that was Fabio Phone. What's going on, DC? We outside. Your boy on the camera, shot by MLB. Stay tuned. We out. Let's end things off with what is happening around town. DC Zone Taraji P. Henson will deliver the 2022 commencement ceremony at Howard University. The third annual DMV TV and Film Summit is this weekend, presented by DMV's own executive producer extraordinaire, Tressa Azarel. Get your tickets now. Hurry up. It's this weekend. Also this weekend is the National Cannabis Festival, featuring Wiz Khalifa, Slick Rick, Backyard Band, and more, all held at RFK Stadium. Well, folks, this is the end. Subscribe and catch up. We will see you next week. We love you for watching. What Wiz Khalifa say? See ya! It's Friday, folks, so you already know what that means.